good afternoon. Right, whilst we're in Spain now and still got quite a long way to go and a long stretch of road, hopefully undisturbed, I thought I'd do the video I've been promising for quite a while, which is the sort of like our story, what we're all about, our backstory, and how we got into van life and what all this really means going forward. It's not going to be a visually exciting one. I'll try and overlay some photos if I can find them on my hard drive to try and accompany some of the things I'm saying. But otherwise, it's just me sitting in this seat waffling my past life. No idea where to start, so I guess as is always the case, start at the beginning. For those who don't know, I'm on video, coming up video 50. This might even be video 50, I have no idea. My name is Darren, and that's Molly in the seat there, which you all know by now. Most people call me Daz, friends and family. I was born in 69, making me 56 at the moment. School was, I was alright at school. I had pretty much a normal childhood, as normal as can be expected in the 70s, I guess. I'm sure it'd be frowned upon in these days. School was good, I think, for the most part. I was part. Of course, I'm going to get hammered for this, but I was part of the chess club, part of the nature club, all that sort of stuff. Going out catching things, measuring them in Petri dishes, and I think in one of the school competitions, actually chess competitions, I was one of the finalists. And I still do like chess today, though. I don't keep it up at all, and it's very rare I come across anyone else that wants to play the game. I think schooling for me finished being exciting and interesting when I got to comprehensive school. It just didn't click or work for me. I wasn't so much anti-education, it's just, I don't know, my head was always elsewhere. I wanted to be outside, and so for the third year of comprehensive school, making me, what was I at the time, about 13, most of that year I skived, and I just went off and did my own things. And I probably got more of an education outside of the school grounds than I ever did inside. And it's the old thing that people say, 56 years old or whatever, and I've never used algebra once in my life. So all those hours of learning it or trying to learn it in school were pretty much wasted. And I can say a lot for similar sort of things. So that was school. I wasn't by any stretch the school thicko. I socialised well. I joined in with all the sports stuff and everything else. And I left school with 5 CSEs, I think they were back then. And that was just cramming it prior to doing the exams, and I scraped through. After school, I went on to do an apprenticeship, a 3-year apprenticeship with the county council doing highway construction, where I learned brickwork, painting, plumbing, as well as how to construct and maintain highways. And then after that, I went on to do a further 2 years with a local council doing stonemasonry. Got married in 91 and joined the army in 90, actually. So from Abergavenny, joined the army in 90, went straight out to Hong Kong, where I spent a couple of years with the Royal Regiment of Wales. Came back from Hong Kong to get married, and then took my wife out to Hong Kong for the last year or so out there. That was all very well and good. Enjoyed that, but then in 98, having had enough of the bullshit of regular standard army, I decided then to go for Pathfinders, and I got into those and stayed there for a few years. Got to see some really good stuff and do some good things with those guys, and made some very, very good friends for life, some of which I still catch up with today. Tom from Prepared Pathfinder, and Kev that you've seen on here, Drunken Kev and Kath up in Helmsdale, and more recently in the Brecon Beacons, actually. So yeah, good network of friends. And then after Pathfinders, I went on and I had one more military role, which I won't go into here. But it was during that role that sort of my life and career really, I was going to say, took a turn for the worse. It's not. I wouldn't be here today doing what I'm doing if it hadn't been for that. But in 2002, the summer of 2002, I had a pretty bad helicopter crash in which I was banged up fairly good and proper, including breaking my neck. So that was a month in hospital and 18 months rehabilitation, after which I was then left with a decision. Did I continue in the military in a lesser role back in my parent unit, which, you know, once I'd got to where I'd got to, that was pretty much a no-no, or do I take a military pension, get out and start all over again? And so after 14 years and being where I was in the military, I decided that enough was enough. I'd make a new change for myself. So upon making the choice to leave the military, I then went straight into the sort of corporate security world, or as the circuit as it was known back then. And for the next 15 years, travelled all over the world, mostly to the shit places that no one else wants to go to because they're the ones that needed security. So I did a lot of work in Iraq, West Africa, in and around the Bight of Benin, Nigeria, as well as Sweden, Korea. You know, they weren't as dangerous, but it was all still part of that whole security blanket type thing. Yes, and I did that until I finished in 2019. So that was that. I came out in 2004. That whole period from 2000 to 2004, me and my ex-wife had bought our first house, and you know, things, that was great. But then after the crash, I think that was the catalyst to start the downhill spiral of my life at that time and my relationship. Yeah, and so we split up, and that was that until about 2006, very early 2006, when we bought a farm in France and decided to give it another go. That was great again for another couple of years. So we lived in France, and in 2010 or 2009-10, realising that it still wasn't right, I moved out and moved to the south of France, to Ariège, the department of Ariège, and the town of Foix. And that's where I spent the next 5 years. And that, to be quite honest, was just a fantastic period of my life. Not because I was now on my own or anything like that, but I was in the mountains. I was skiing very often. I was running through the mountains. I took a paragliding. I was still going away every other month and working. I also got in that period got a job on the oil rigs too for a few short months, but 6 months I think. And so life became very interesting, always on the move and doing new things, approaching new challenges. You know, and it was just, I even went out as a project manager for the security setup for the World Cup in 2010 in South Africa. So I was covering Hyundai, and you know, to be honest, it was just a cuff. I got a phone call out of the blue, and I thought, how hard can it be? Just go and try it. If it turns out to be shit, I'll just get a plane home. But as it was, it turned out to be a cracking job. And I've had loads like that. And I think, you know, to skip forward to where I am today, that's what this is about. It's just, it doesn't matter what people say or how difficult it is, give it a go. And I think I've always been about that, about just trying things. But anyway, yeah, so, however, I think in 2015, I'd had enough of French bureaucracy, and again, itchy feet, wanted to try something else. So I sold everything, give away all my furniture and everything else. I also give away my dog at the time, but don't judge me on that. It's not quite that cold. She went to an absolutely brilliant person who had her and looked after her for her last couple of years. I bought a sailboat actually and moved out to Greece and lived in Greece for a couple of years, on and off on my sailboat, sailing around, mainly around the area of Corfu, Preveza on the mainland, and a couple of the other islands, but that's where I predominantly stayed. And that was great until I smashed the boat up. I got it repaired, and there was a big rescue and blah blah blah. Everybody got off the boat okay, including my pregnant daughter, which she still doesn't let me forget to this day, bless her. But hey, what an experience, eh? So if ever I offer you to come on a boat and go for a sail, do yourself a favour, say no, because I just can't be trusted. So 2015 till I crashed a boat, then I had it repaired, then I bought another boat. But come 2017-18, I had a really good project going on in Monaco, or just outside Monaco. And so I decided to sell the boats and concentrate again on work for a little while. But in 2019, I think it was, I suddenly realised that money really, I couldn't do without it, like none of us, but it wasn't the driving force in my life. And I was in not a highly stressed job. The stress was the client, actually. Even though she was lovable, there were some particular moments that I thought, why the hell am I doing this shit? And so October 2019, or September, I think it was September 2019, I put in my papers to quit. A couple of weeks later, I was on a plane heading out to India, because I've always wanted to go there, and spent just under a month travelling around India. And that was it. That was retirement. I finally realised that at 50 years old at the time, I just wanted to travel. I wanted to do other stuff that wasn't work-related, particularly money-related. I just wanted to go and challenge myself and see other things, I think. And so, I went and did that. And then during that period, I'd also bought a house. I think it's 2018, something like that. I bought a house in South Wales in Bridgend. Lovely, lovely house, lovely neighbours. But again, in 2020, having just bought Molly, actually, I'll move on to Molly in a little minute. I decided to again sell the house, give away everything that was in the house and make a new start. And so I did that and bought a canal boat up north of Worcester. I think the place was called Napton on the Hill, or very close to Napton on the Hill. And that was in the dead of winter, probably the worst time to do it. And also at that point, I'd signed up for a rowing project to row across the Atlantic. So I was doing a lot of training. And a rowing machine inside a narrowboat really isn't a recipe for success. In fact, it was quite difficult. And so with a challenge, the Atlantic Challenge being more of a priority, and the winter getting to me, which is a common theme for me. I really do dislike the UK winters. But all that taken into consideration, I moved out to Spain for a few months. I tried to get residency, but I just missed the Brexit deadline, and so that went fairly peaked on. So I stayed the 3 months that I could. Molly was with me, and made a hasty retreat back to the UK, where I then went to stay with my brother for 3 months. Molly stayed in Spain because it was just easier for this transition period. And in the summer of 21, I then bought the house in Ebbw Vale. And Molly came back that summer also, and that's where I've stayed really for the last 4 years, and well, until February of last year. And it was never meant to be that long, but I just got into a rut of oh, it's easy, it'll do, it's comfortable, I can afford it. Why do I need to push myself? And I was just becoming the person I never wanted to be. And for someone that always had the get up and go, and always go and travel, see things new, take on challenges, all of a sudden I was becoming recluse. There were days I'd always walk Molly, but there were days when I'd get back from a walk and just sit in the house, and I don't think I really achieved much. I was training a lot at the time, training for the row, and then a couple of years later I trained for the run. The Atlantic row fell through, but then I picked up another seat on a boat and rowed around the UK non-stop in 34 days. That was in 2022. So that was all a really good challenge. So physically I was still challenging myself, but of course once you've done an hour or two's training a day, you're still left with, now what do I do? And I just didn't have that get up and go. And so I pretty much, I guess you could say I was just directionless. Not since the military days have I had a focus and a purpose and direction. And that was all coming to a head, and I could sense it in myself. And so in late 2024, I made the decision to sell the house. It went very quickly. So in February, or actually in the January, I bought this van, and in the February it then sold, completed on the deal, and I moved out and moved into van life. And that's where we've been ever since, really. So this is our 10th month on the road. And this is exactly what I wanted and exactly who I am and what makes me feel great at the moment. Now, it didn't have to be a van, I'll be honest. It could have been a sailboat again. Apart from Molly, it would have been difficult. It could have been any one of many other alternative modes of transport, or I even considered backpacking and cycling travel. But again, all these things are just that little bit more difficult with Molly. And so the van seemed to be the best compromise. And that's where we are. And I guess, for the most part, van life has been rewarding. It's truly been incredible. The people I've met, the things I've seen, the photography, it's got me back into photography. And this, doing these videos and all the rest of it, I've never made videos before. This whole YouTube thing is all very new to me, even now, and I still don't fully understand it. I still get comments of people saying, oh, have you checked this, or have you done that, or do this and that. Oh, I don't know. I don't really know about that sort of stuff. I don't do it for the numbers. I don't do it for the money or any of that sort of stuff. I do it for a creative outlet. I really enjoy the filming, seeing new things, putting the videos together, including choosing the music, and just creating something that's kind of meaningful, but also captures the essence of what it was I was going through and seeing at the time. And sorry about that beeping. That's the hill start is now unavailable, but I'm on flat ground, so it's fine. We don't need to worry about that. We're through the Pyrenees now. Oh, I know I've lost my train of thought. Bloody van. So having lived in small things before, I've had vans before, though never full time. I've had the narrow boat, I've had sailing boats. So jumping into this, having seen all the things I've done, creating the videos, the photos and all the rest of it, it just worked. And it wasn't that difficult, because I was giving up a life in a house that I was no longer enjoying and going to something I did enjoy. Now, that's not to say this has all been straightforward. There have been many, many down days, many lonely days. Even with Molly, there are still some days when you wish you had someone else to just chat through things, and just pass the day like a normal socializing human being. So there are those days, and as much as I really enjoy this, and it fits with who I am and where I am in my life at the moment, would I recommend it? No, would I? Bollocks. It's look, if you've got a really comfortable house, a great work-life balance, and you're still motivated enough to have the luxury of the house and all the mod cons, and still get out and travel and do it all and be able to manage all that, stay with what you're doing. You've got it well. You've got it all wrapped up and perfect. I'm more of a all or nothing kind of person. I just in the house I was all lazy and not interested, and now I'm just all sort of get up and go and see things new. So Molly, very quickly on Molly, I got Molly in January 2020, actually, when she was about 8 or 10 weeks old. And it wasn't an easy decision, because I knew with that would come the obstacles and restrictions of, having a dog. And whilst we still travel quite freely, I think if it weren't for Molly, I don't believe I'd be in a van. I'd be somewhere else on a sailboat, and quite possibly halfway around the world by now, because that's still a dream and a driving force. I know deep inside, getting on a boat and sailing around the world is what I would choose to do. But I made a decision to buy Molly, and therefore take the responsibility of looking after her. And that's where we are. She's lived on a canal boat very briefly. She's lived in Spain for 6 months. She's lived the van life for 10 months. She's had the house life for 5 years, including a bit of Bridgend. So she's well travelled, and she's been fantastic. She's such an easy dog to look after. She only wants a walk, some food, and to be watered, and that's her. She's content. She'll come on runs. I've been on runs of 30-40 kilometers with her, and she'll keep up all day long and still want more. And also, as you saw coming across to the continent on the ferry, I left her on the ferry for over 5 hours, possibly even closer to 6, and she was fine. She doesn't molt hair, she doesn't shed, she's very, very clean. When her hair grows out, she's very muddy, because it's like wearing a mop and it just drags all the mud inside. But these are they're very small issues, and we always get through it anyway. And so I don't know. I think sometimes she's probably not as happy with van life as I am. There has been the odd occasion when she's been shaking on the front seat. Very, very few and far between, and I think it's a shake of, uncertainty or anxiousness. She's injured herself good and proper once already, which was in a previous video, and she's also been ill, which was just a few weeks ago. And these moments are quite stressful even for me, because I don't know what's going on. With the cut I did, but with the illness I didn't. And if you're caught out, especially here now, I don't speak the language, I don't know anyone out here up in the north of Spain. At times like this, you kind of think, oh shit, what would I do? And I'm sure we'd get through it. I'm sure we'd get through it. But so there are these things. Would it be easier on my own? Absolutely, of course it would. But there again, it would have been easier in the house as well. So Molly is just part of that ongoing challenge, and and it's great for the most part. For 99% of the time, I'm glad she's there. But there are the 1% of times when I think, shit, if only I was on my own. Anyway, that's us rambling. To finish off, do I think van life will be what I choose to do for the rest of my life? Nah, I can tell you that now. It won't be. My life cycle seems to be every 5 years. I left school in 85, 90 I joined the army, 95 I went on to do a course which changed my career and ranking in the army. 2000 bought my first house with my ex-wife, had the helicopter crash shortly after. 2005, well actually it was very early 2006, February I think it was, moved out to France. 2010 moved down to the south of France after the final split and later the divorce. 2015, sold everything, moved to Greece. 2020, sold everything, moved onto a barge. 2025, sold everything, moved into a van. So, I guess the question is, what am I doing in 2030? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just happy bouncing from day to day, just enjoying life at the moment until something else comes along. I've no long-term plan for that. I don't even have a short-term plan, apart from get down to Ithaca in the coming days and then have a couple of months in Portugal. Who knows? Who knows what's out there? But we're all geared up to go and find out. And finally, I didn't mention this, but this is right at the beginning. I do have children, 4 children, and they've all now got their own children. So I've got 8 grandchildren, including the adopted and all the rest of it. So yes, I thought I'd give them a mention because they'll only get in the comments and get on my case. So anyway, that's who we are. That's why I think I've answered why we're doing van life and what it means and what's going to happen in the future. And if you're still here, you haven't fallen asleep or thrown yourself off a cliff or are punching your TV repeatedly saying, "Shut up, you waffling dick," then congratulations. This would have been a tough one to get through. And to be honest, up until this point, all the vlogs have been about mostly 90-95% of it is creating something I can look back on myself in years to come to remember this trip. This one isn't for me. I know my life. This one is for you guys that I've promised so many times and have asked for it. So I thought I would put this out there so at least now you know who we are. You've got a little bit more of our backstory. Maybe some things now make sense when I talk about it, and or may talk about it in the future. And that's where we are. So well done if you've made it to the end, and if you haven't, well, it's no good me saying this last bit because you're not going to hear it anyway. Right, as usual, thank you ever so much for watching. Take a medal for this one and give yourself a pat on the back. It's probably been a long one. And yes, I shall cut it there and see you in the next one when we're back to normal vlogging, and by which time I should be down in Ithaca, or if you're looking at a map, Isnajar, which is about an hour north of Malaga. Right, take care everyone, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.